You're listening to Garden Master Ken Lain and the Top 10 Gardener Podcast. Welcome to the Top 10 Garden Show.
And we are back with Lisa Waters-Lain in the studio. She comes each week with your garden questions. Just what are people talking about? And boy, are gardeners starting to talk, aren't they?
They're definitely
fun. The classes are bigger.
Yeah.
There's more views online. I'm noticing our Instagram reels.
Mm-hmm.
Where we have these segments broken out into little segments, kind of snippets, 92 minutes at most. So it breaks it down, and they're getting hundreds of views each day. So it's every day. There's a little bit one. If you're into this, if you're into gardening, it would be worthwhile going to Waters Garden Center and just follow and subscribe and do all that kind of stuff. It's going through our YouTube channel too. A little bit longer format, but the reels, you can listen to anything for 90 seconds. 10 minutes, that might be a commitment. An hour-long program, that's what the radio show is. That's just too long. Unless you're working out in the garden and you just want to put us in on the radio and listen in. It's kind of fun. So
I know we get out there. I had a question because they can write questions in on the website. I had a question from New Hampshire the other day.
Really?
And I'm like, you might want to check in New Hampshire. So
there's certain areas that this is zone 7 gardening, and so we go down into zone 5, which would be Flagstaff and Williams, White Mountains. We can go up to zone 8. That's Dewey, Sedona, those areas, but pretty much we're all sort of the same. Well, when you look at it that way, because northern Arizona is so diverse, we're kind of like Vermont, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Virginia, all the way across the country, Nashville. We're kind of the same zone, the same advice. Maybe the sun's a little different, soil maybe is different, but it's kind of the same.
Yeah, he was wanting me to ship him a fruit cocktail tree.
Oh no, that's
I said, sorry, you can't do that.
You gotta fly in here, rent a you'll haul it back.
There you go, haul it back.
They're so specialized. Yeah. That's why I was sharing with folks, don't wait. For the more specialized it is, grab it now because it won't be here in a week. It will be out.
Yep.
There's no more.
That is true.
So questions from folks. What are people talking about?
Well, Jess would like to know, is it too late to prune fruit trees at this point? And then what about roses? Is it too late if you missed that golden opportunity, or what do you do?
Jess, you're fine. Actually, this is probably the ideal time. So March is a good time. I would say you should feel some pressure. Okay, we're halfway through March. You need to get on this. Stop waiting. So by the end of the month, I think you're fine. Roses prefer to be pruned when you're starting to see that new growth. As they're growing, that's kind of your cue. Go for it. If your fruit trees are heavily budded, even if they're just cracking a little bit of color, go for it. Once they're in full bloom, you're kind of getting past the peak time, but better to prune it when you're past the peak time than to not prune it at all, because fruit trees, they like to be pruned.
Right.
So I think you're spot on. Go for it. Don't worry about it.
Good. All right. Next question is from Valerie. She says, I saw the lily of the valley shrub at the store. Can you give me more specifics? Sun, shade, how long does it bloom, and what type of soil does it like?
Well, first of all, Valerie, thanks for coming in. It's kind of visiting. That's super. And writing a question. That's awesome. So Lily of the Valley, they've just started to crack open. I showed them off at last week's class. They were starting to bloom, and they've got this intoxicating smell. There's this fragrance that's even brighter than lilacs or roses. It's just very, very bright. It can almost be too pungent sometimes. So it's perfect in a container because they stay small. And they're shade lovers. So you could put it in a container under that overhang, north facing gardens, under overhang of a patio or deck. It would shine with that. It's a good perennial, evergreen, gets up about knee high, and just stays that without any pruning, just stays that size. There's very few shade loving perennials that keep their bounds, that won't outgrow their space, that has that kind of fragrance. It's really good. And the beauty is, if you're in that wildland interface, I see you got bunnies or deer coming through, they don't eat lily of the valley. So you should be good to go with that. So put it right out there in the gardens, in a container, in a raised bed. It'll take our climate, no problem. Just that sun in the middle of June, that 10 to 2 sun, that's hard on it. It'll get brown tips on the leaves and all kinds. If you've grown in other parts of the country, it's been fine in the full sun. Here, it needs some protection. So,
and how long does it bloom?
Oh, all spring. Like from now through all spring.
It is a long blooming shrub.
Crazy long.
And I think we have 3 different varieties in right now.
There's a silver one.
That's variegated.
Yeah, variegated. There's a green one, the traditional one that we've grown for years. And
there's a new
else.
one, desert something
it's
rose.
got red growth on it or something. They're really pretty.
Definitely. So check
Now's
those out.
the time. You'll find Lily of the Valley, best selection now. In the summer, you won't find any.
Okay.
Just kind of comes down to that.
All right. Next question is from Dan. He says, I really want to put in a Colorado spruce, but I live in Dewey. Will they grow there, or is there a tree that would actually do better there?
Dan, so great question. So the native one that grows there is Arizona cypress. Okay. That grow there, it'll naturalize and just grows by itself. It sounds like you want a Christmas tree looking tree, and Arizona cypress does not look that way. And so Colorado spruce will grow there, no problem. But you'll probably need to put it on a drip system. You'll need to do that for anything out there, no matter what, until it gets fully rooted. So it takes a couple of seasons for the roots to get fully engaged into the gardens. So to grow out there, even a native like Arizona cypress. A Colorado spruce is actually a bigger plant. Colorados, they get, 50 feet tall, and they will get that big out there. No worries. I think at all elevation, you'll see spruce all the way down to even the Verde areas. You'll see spruce as long as they're irrigated. So Prescott Valley, irrigated. So as you get higher elevations, the Groom Creeks and stuff, that's where they naturally grow. Yeah, you probably water them until they get rooted, and then you let them go by themselves. But they always look better. A little bit of food and water makes everything look better. So Dan, I'd say, don't worry. Come on in. Let's show you how to make this thing go. And you're probably watering a deep soak once a week. It's probably enough for those because they've got a pretty big root ball. Even in the peak of summer, maybe when it's 100 out there and you get that wind that funnels through that valley area, maybe it's twice a week at most. If you're going to kill a Colorado spruce out there, it won't be from the heat. It'll be from overwatering.
Yeah, if you get into some of those clay patches out there, you do have to be a little more careful.
There's a caliche layer that runs out that 69 corridor that can be really rough. So just make sure that the spruce drains. So if you're in doubt, here's how you test it. So you're planting a new pine tree or spruce or whatever, Arizona cypress, whatever it is. Dig your hole and you're going, oh, this soil seems really hard. Oh my gosh, I need a jackhammer. If you've got that kind of soil, test it before you plant. And so what you do is you dig your hole, and then you fill it up with water in the morning. And if water is still sitting in that hole at the end of the day, you've got a problem. You just dug a bathtub. Dig it deeper, fill it up, and add some bubbles. Enjoy it, because your trees aren't going to like it.
Right.
What we'll do is we'll dig a chimney. We'll take a piece of that hole, and we'll dig a piece of it out until we get to the next soil band. And usually there's a rock, a boulder, a caliche layer, something's underneath there that's not allowing the water to penetrate. As soon as you break that, even with a digging bar or jackhammer, many times we'll take the jackhammer, just fracture it down, and it will start draining. And the soil never lies. So if you fill it up and it's drained by the end of the day, you're good. Go plant whatever evergreen you want. If it's still sitting there, really you're talking cattails, mint. You can't kill mint. It's something that likes boggy, yucky water. So soils, gooey soils.
Right. Okay. I think we have time to get Sherry's question in. It's a quick one. Wants to know when she should start watering her lawn again and how frequent.
Yeah, now. So I'd fertilize it now. Take the 744 all-purpose food. It's a granular food. It's like magic for lawns. Oh my gosh, you will wake it up and be green like next weekend. Make sure the lawnmower is sharp and ready to go. And then start watering. So March, plants they'll start greening up like immediately. So I'd say now's your time. Go for it. And we are like that. We're out of time. Ken and Lisa Lain, the Mountain Gardeners. Be right back after this.
Growing up in Prescott, we knew spring was here when my grandmother's lilacs bloomed. I'm Lisa Waters Lane, and my grandmother would be thrilled with the new bloomerang purple lilacs at Waters Garden Center. They don't just bloom once in spring, they bloom again in summer. Mine bloomed 3 times last year, making spring last well into fall, and just $29.99. Come check out all the heavenly new sights and scents that are making this spring the most beautiful ever. Lilacs like Grandma used to grow and better. Waters Garden Center in Prescott.
You're listening to Ken Lain, aka the Top 10 Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week in Prescott at Waters Family Garden Center. Listen daily as he answers the top 10 questions of the week, streaming on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you download your podcast.